And he gives an example. In the Egyptian world, when somebody would pass, they would keep gifts, they would keep food, and they would actually feel satisfied because we are providing these resources. Their journey after death will be nice. They will move forward, right? Or they conceived, imagine whatever, whether it is truth, imagination, even if you consider as imagination, from a psychological perspective, it makes you extremely stable. But here, we are not talking from the myth perspective, we are speaking from the perspective of the rishis, right? When we see from the perspective of the rishis, then we understand the purpose of Pitri. Imagine the word Pitri, Putra, Putri, Matra, Pitra, right? All these words, Pati, Patni, all these words are very closely connected to each other. From Pitri, Pitri means ancestors, not exactly ancestors. You will, those who understand their native language connected to Bharatiyata, they will understand from Pitri to Putra and Putri, they have the same psychological legacy. They have the same connection, right? So therefore, the worship of the Pitris in the Dharma Shastra was based upon the observation of the rishis coming from the Supreme Brahman. Like the question is raised, like if you consider the Srishti is coming by chance, no, everything is happening by biological reality, then the concept of Kritajnata does not exist at all. Why should I be grateful to anybody? Because it is a mechanical creation. Whether you liked it or not, whether you choose it or not, I was supposed to be born by the process of a man and woman coming together. So what is so great about giving them credit? Because it is all happening by accident. But if we accept the Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, Krishna explains to Arjuna, in the beginning of the creation, Brahmaji, who is the secondary creator, sent forth all the living entities. And Lord Vishnu, Supreme Brahman, he said, perform thou yajna. By the performance of yajna, all the necessity provided. It is not about bribing the devatas. It is basically acknowledging their power to provide resources, right? So whether you fear or you love or you perform out of duty or you do it because of love, that doesn't matter, right? Even if there is a fear, and fear is also required in the beginning. But here, Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is not talking about fear. He's talking about sahakara, cooperation. And therefore, when you study carefully, the Pitri Puja is one aspect of human existence who are born with the concept of samskaras. Right? When we worship Supreme Brahman, the purpose of worshipping Supreme Brahman is purely to relate, to develop deep sambandha, vatsalyata, prema sambandha, vatsalya sambandha, mitra sambandha, dasya sambandha. There is nothing but I want to serve you. And with devatas, as Krishna mentioned, they have the power to give. They have been appointed And because they've been appointed, they can provide the resources if you develop a cooperation psychology with them. And with the rishis, what do you gain out of the rishis? Rishis are not meant to be followed. Oh, I am your fan. The purpose of the rishi, again, Pitri, Pautra, then Putra, then there is Gotra. Right? Gotra means collection of knowledge. Right? Gai, Gomata, that also means knowledge only. Grama is also connected with knowledge only. The purpose of Rishi, like recently we also celebrated Rishi Panchami. The purpose of Rishi is to give you knowledge. And the purpose of the Pitri, why do we perform this Pitri Puja? Now there are many opinions are there. Those who practice some particular sadhana, whether it is Vaishnava sadhana or some Shaiva sadhana or Tantra sadhana, different sects connected to different yoga, spiritual organization, one of the argument they make, this is not required if you are practicing your sadhana properly. All this is not required. There are many Hindu organizations, they do not encourage their followers to perform the Pitri Puja as it is not required. Some of the Vaishnavas also, right, without getting into the depth of the Vaishnava literature, when they wrongly understand the Viravrata. Viravrata means I don't care for anything. I just focus on worshipping my Ishtadeva, hell or high water. It doesn't matter. It's a good spirit. But there is also samskara. Whether you take Bhagavad Gita, whether you take Bhagavatam, whether you take Ramayana, whether you take Mahabharata, in fact, even if we take the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, even the Upanishad also, if you take, there is an important element of basically offering puja to the Pitris. And what is the purpose of offering puja to the Pitris? One of the most important purpose of offering puja to the Pitris is that only because of the Pitris we came to this world. I don't know. I don't have an exact statistics, but it is known that keen observation tells you because of lack of Pitri Puja, many people do not have progeny. Now forget having progeny. People say we don't want children. When the primitive atheism, which does not acknowledge the Surya, Chandra, do not acknowledge the contribution of the parents, the primitive, they didn't know anything. But today, when that primitive atheism is philosophized, and then with the language, what they know, especially the English language, they say, why should I have children? What is this nonsense? I don't believe in all these things. Right? There is a sophistication of their dress. There is a sophistication of so-called language. But the mentality is of the same because they see everything from a mechanical perspective. And those who practice spiritual sadhana without understanding the samskara, they become exclusively connected to me and my God. They don't see his creation completely. Right? Even Sri Ramachandra, Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of them, they are avatars. Even they practiced the concept of sanskar on day-to-day basis. Sri Krishna in the Bhagavatam every day offered oblation, tarpan to his ancestors, to the devatas. and he offered worship to Surya Dev also. Right? So therefore, the Pitri Puja is connected to offering our limitless Kritanyata. And especially in Bharat, the contribution of our ancestors, our Pitris. Imagine for hundreds of years, not one or two, hundreds of years, they were able to sustain their dharma. I was sharing other day that many people from the other side of Bharat, the undivided Bharat, the political Pakistan is still an undivided Bharat from the energy point of view, from the legacy point of view, from the river and the mountains point of view, the Sindh and Punjab's point of view, right? When these people chose to live their piece of land, their ancestral place, generation after generation they grew there. But when there was a choice between changing their religion or losing everything, right? If they chose not to change the religion, there was chances of losing their life, losing their wealth, losing their relationship. Imagine not one or two. What made them? Many had anticipated this is going to happen. Right? Even if they had not anticipated, they had the choice of converting to Islam. But they chose not to do that. And they came to restart, and only one thing stopped them from staying there is this idea that no, I have a culture, I have a samskara. Right? And now we know these stories because it happened in 1947. But in 2000 years, since the Greek came and a lot of invaders coming from outside trying to destroy, but these people continue to struggle, fight to stay Sanatan Dharmic. Right? And just because we are sitting today, most of us, listening to the talk of Pitri, and interestingly, other than Christianity and Islam, all the pagan religion, all the Egyptians, ideas, everyone had the concept of worshipping the Pitris. Everybody had the concept of worshipping the Pitris, and therefore offering that gratitude, is one of the most important part of our Sanatan Dharma. And therefore it is explained that during the Dakshinayana, right, when the sun is moving towards the southern direction, Dakshinayana, the rishis and the devatas go to take rest. When they're resting, that is the time for all the living entities to connect with their pitris. When you connect with the pitris, in some places it is explained, in this Dakshinayana, devatas are more happy, and they believe, they understand, by worshipping your pitri, offering your gratitude to your pitris, there is a greater benefit than worshipping the devatas itself. In the Bhagavatam, when Lord Narsingadev, right? Lord Narsingadev basically, he killed Hiranyakashipu for his evil deeds, right? Not because he was troubling Prahlad Maharaj. No. If every child might feel, my father troubles me. But Hiranyakashipu had an evil understanding, and that evil idea was also trying to destroy Prahlad. And Prahlad did not pray, Krishna, come and protect me. Lord Narsingadev, come and protect me. Lord Narsingadev chose to come and protect Prahlad and also punish Hiranyakashipu. right? Now, what is the level of Prahlad's devotion? Exclusive. He did not even pray. Such a deep devotion Prahlad Maharaj had. After the death of Hiranyakashipu, there is a beautiful discussion between Prahlad and Lord Narsingadev, and Devatas hear that. But when Lord Narsingadev is going back to Vaikunta, what does Lord Narsingadev say to Prahlad Maharaj? He said, my dear Prahlad, even though I have touched the body of Hiranyakashipu, imagine the touch of Lord Narsingadev to whichever body it is instantly purified like a thousand volt of electricity, burning all the kalmash, all the contamination. And Lord Nursing says that I've touched the body, but still, Prahlad, you should perform the Shraddha, the Antakriya to your father. He should get that. And Prahlad certainly does perform that. Right? In that same seventh canto of the Bhagavatam, Narad Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Right? Now, who is Yudhishthira? Yudhishthira Maharaj is the great devotee. He is also the personification Yamaraj. He knows the Vedas, very surrendered to the Supreme Bhagavan. And Narad Muni is teaching him. And what does Narad Muni do? Narad Muni also speaks specifically about this Bhadra time, this Bhadra Amavasya, right? Offering Pitris the oblation, the Tarpan, the Pindadan. Yes, Narad Muni certainly says, my dear Yudhishthir, there is no need to elaborate this. When you are worshipping the Devatas, invite 2 Brahmanas. When you are worshipping your ancestor Pitris, invite 3 Brahmanas. If you do not have 2 or 3 Brahmanas, then invite 1 Brahmana. And in some places, see the beauty of Sanatana Dharma scripture, they always give you an alternative. People ask this question, what if they don't have a son? What if they don't have an offspring? What if they are not willing to do? What should we do? Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna told Arjuna in the 12th chapter, which is called as Bhakti Yoga, if you cannot continuously remember in love, because you can't force love. If you cannot, then remember in sadhana, morning, afternoon, evening. If you cannot remember me, even from that level, then you perform your karma yoga in such a way, offer some fruits of your activities. And if you cannot do that also, if you cannot offer the fruits of our activities to Sri Krishna, then he said, offer for some good cause. And Sri Krishna will accept that also, even though the worshipper or the giver of the charity doesn't have the idea of Bhagavan, but is doing for some good cause, that will also be acknowledged by Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, Lord Sri Krishna. Similarly, in Pitri Puja, one is keeping it simple, but having a deep gratitude. Not that, okay, let me do it because, the Bhagavatam says I'll just do it. Doing it mechanically will not be pleasing to anybody. And it is not that we need to, it is not that we have to do. Shastras are never imposing, whether it is Upanishads, whether it is Puranas, whether it is Vedas, they don't impose, right? Only the Shasan of Raja is imposing. Only the Shasan of doctor is imposing. You have to take this medicine. You have to perform this exercise. Ata Yoga Anushasanam. Right? Otherwise, in regards to this puja, very simple. If there are no Brahmanas in your family, then whom do you offer? You can offer to some of the senior members. right? Like one may feed maternal grandfather, maternal uncle, sister, son, father-in-law, one's teacher, a son-in-law, or aunt's son, or a Ritvik, or the performer of Yagya. This is in the Manusmriti, right? Because one of the aspect of Pitri Puja is to offer the bhojana. So therefore, the ritual behind performing this puja, because we need certain tools to actually, concentrate our mind in invoking our pitris, right? So therefore, what do they do on the process of Pitri Puja, especially during this Sarva Pitra, this Bhadrapad Mas. Generally, there are two ways. One is on the tithi of your ancestors who passed away, right? Exact time, exact date, right? That tithi. For example, somebody has passed away on 12th October 1970, right? It could be certain tithi. So that tithi, every year on that tithi, you will offer Shraddha. And during this time, one is that you may not have done the tithi, the Shraddha, or you may have done the Shraddha, but you get another opportunity to do it again on the day, on the tithi day. If they had passed in Naumi tithi in the time of Bhadrapad, in the Shravana Mas, you did that on Shravana Mas, then again that tithi, Mas is not there, but the tithi, the day is there, the month is not there. So that day you have to find and you have to perform very simple water mixed with white flour, black sesame, barley, and kusha grass. Simple. There are few simple process. You could do it, or you can invite a Brahmana to do for you. Simple, 45 minutes it takes. Right? And if you do not know, if you are not doing any of these things, then there is Sarvapitri Amavasya. In the Sarvapitri Amavasya, that all the Pitris are invoked, right? And if you study carefully, it's a very powerful ceremony. The Brahmana one who comes, he explains, he invokes, your grandparents, then their parents, and their parents. And then he invokes from your wife's side also. Then uncle, aunt. In this way, there are many people, they are offered Pindadan. It is also offered for your pet animal like cows. They also offer it to the tree which was given shade to you. Sometimes they invoke the servant who served you for many years. Right? And some people invoke somebody who served for their country so nicely. Imagine, because you believe in a community, you believe in a tribe, you believe in a kula. So on those who believe in kula, for them invoking that gratitude, it doesn't take much time. What does it do? It gives immense satisfaction to the performer more than anybody else. Right? We celebrated Krishna Janmashtami. Now, what is the greatest gift one can offer to Krishna on his appearance day, on his Janma? It is your own satisfaction only. If you are satisfied yourself, that gives immense satisfaction. Imagine somebody goes to God burdened. There is a depression, there is a pain. He will not contribute anything to the service. He is a wounded soldier, fallen soldier. Right? You can't expect them to render anything. But here, somebody who's a capable personality, what does he have? He has the courage to tell Sri Krishna, I don't want anything from you. because all my ancestors have immensely benefited me, and with their benefit, I want to serve you. Right? Like in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj got to know from Narad Muni that his father is basically stuck in the Pitriloka. Now, Pitriloka is like a junction. You don't stay forever. It is not hellish planet. It is not heavenly planet. It is like a junction. You're supposed to stay there for some time and again move forward. And Pandu Maharaj, because Narad Muni can go anywhere and everywhere, he sent the message, look, Narad Muni, tell my son to perform Rajasuya sacrifice. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj is the great king, he's an emperor. For him offering Shraddha, the gratitude for his father has to have that kind of capacity only. Just like when Bali Maharaj, when he met with Vamandev asked for 3 pieces of land. And Bali Maharaj genuinely felt this is an insult. You have come to me, ask something tangible, something substantial. Right? If you meet with the great king or a prime minister and is asking, ask for something. And you are asking that I want a vanilla ice cream. Right? That's an insult. So therefore, here we see that when a living entity goes to God and asks, I want this, I provided everything. The Greek philosopher, the Stoic philosophers, that is very amazing concept. They say the creation has been filled with all the resources to be grateful. For what? Because all the resources are there. You need to tap on that. And they said there are 4 things. And the Mahabharata exactly says, he said sahas. Sahas is basically courage. Courage, wisdom, moderation, and justice. Sahas, vidya, vigyan, and then yoga and nyaya. If you have these 4 things, then you can achieve all the resources which are potentially hidden. Intellectual resources, physical resources, relationship resources. The 8 Ashtalakshmi, they will bestow you unlimited. And then when you come, you're always there and offering simply love, affection, friendship, receiving love, affection, friendship from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you don't ask anything from him because these people provide. The question is, what if my ancestors do not have that capacity? Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj also had this question. He said, Narad Muniji, how will I perform this Rajasuya sacrifice? It is a Herculean task. The same question is asked by people, oh, this is very complex. Inviting Pitri, doing Pitri Puja, asking the Brahmanas to come. We don't know whether they'll do it properly or not. People begin with a negative question. How will I do this? How is it possible? One thing, please remember, the scriptures of Sanatan Dharma, they are not there to create anxiety in you. Sri Krishna, or for that matter, Lord Shiva also, they don't come to our life to choke us. They don't come to our life to restrain us. They come to our life to empower us, to help us grow. And therefore, one more worship in Sanatan Dharma, worship of Lord, worship of rishis, worship of devatas, worship of pitris, and there is a worship of prakriti, and also there is also worshipping the jiva. How do you worship the jiva? By seeing Krishna in their heart. That is one thing. And empowering them, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the ability in man or a woman. When you help them to reach their ability, the manifestation of that ability is also a representation of Vishnu only. Right? Imagine the circle is so complete. You don't worship only this. I don't worship that. The example is given of the gopis of Vrindavan, the Brahmana Patnis. What is special about the gopis? The gopis were intensely absorbed in Sri Krishna. Krishna called them for Ras Leela. When they came to Ras Leela, how many days did they perform Ras Leela? Whether it is Brahma's day, whether it is limitless day, Krishna concentrated that. But they went back to their original place. So gopis reconciled between their Prakrita Pati and their Apara Prakrita, Divya Pati Krishna. Like Mirabai Andal, they just wanted Krishna. And some other people, they want only their husband or wife. I don't want to do anything with God. Right? But here the gopis, the Brahman Patnis, the Pandavas, they were able to reconcile between their surrounding and also their connection to Vishnu. So therefore the Pitri Puja does not distract anybody. And Yudhishthira asked that question, and Narad Muni said, it is possible Krishna came, he helped them. There are always an alternatives. Right? As the Bhagavatam itself is saying, 3 Brahmana, 2 Brahmana, 1 Brahmana. If you don't have anybody, just do as much as you can do. But please perform the ritual of Pitri Puja and see the word Pitri, Putra. The word Vivaha, Samskar, these are all Samskaras. And study the word in Arabic language. What is Aulad? What is Aurat? And what is Putra? What is Putri? Some people ask, can women do the Pitri Samskara for their family? There are different Shastras. There are some Shastras do recommend, if there is nobody, even the ladies can do. There are Vedic rituals and there are Pauranic rituals also. Maybe Vedic rituals they may not do, but the Pauranic rituals, they can also benefit their ancestor, because by very definition, there is no difference between Putra and Putri. Only the E Matra, Putra and Putri, Pati and Patni. Right? There is absolutely no difference in meaning other than in grammatical reality. Therefore, this Pitri Puja in the Hindu Sanatana Dharma tradition, Vaishnava tradition, is very deep and profound. And that is how the Bhagavad Gita begins. One of the greatest reservation for Arjuna to fight the war was, study the first chapter carefully. What a profound, contemplation Arjuna was doing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Right? He comes there, he knows he has to fight, he has fought many battles, and he saw that all of these people are going to lose their life. Not one soldier, not 2 soldiers. Thousands of them will lose their life. And when all these men will be slaughtered, happen to be father, happen to be husband, happen to be sons, happen to be brother, happen to be uncle, right? Grandfathers also. When all these people will be slaughtered, then what will happen? The women folk will be unprotected. When they are not protected, there will be exploitation against them. When there is an exploitation against the women folk, then what will happen? Unwanted children will come. When the unwanted children will come, naturally, they would not prefer to perform the Shraddha ceremony. Where will they express gratitude? Because they're not experiencing gratitude. There is no question of continuing the legacy of gratitude. He told Krishna, they will not offer tarpan. They will not offer pinda. And because they will not offer the pinda and tarpan, the ancestors will be very dissatisfied. They will not further progress, my dear Krishna. Right? Arjuna saw the consequences of battle. First, he saw the immediate consequences, death. Then he saw post. What is that? After the death, what will happen? There will be chaos. There will be recklessness. There will be mahyam. And then Arjuna saw the post future, that there will be children who are born who will not offer the oblations to the forefathers, and they will not proceed further. And therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj, knowing very well it was very challenging, he invited Krishna. And Krishna could have told Arjuna, or Yudhishthira, what nonsense is this? You want to do all this? In fact, Sri Krishna took responsibility, not only agreed for this Pitri Puja in the form of Rajasuya sacrifice, but he supported, he convinced Yudhishthira Maharaj. And what kind of conviction? He said, Yudhishthira, first thing to perform this Rajasuya sacrifice is to eliminate Jarasandha. And if you have to eliminate Jarasandha, then he is very powerful. The best way to eliminate Jarasandha is to have a duel, face-to-face war only with him, not with his army. And he said, how will that happen? He said, Bhima will fight him. He said, me, Arjun and Bhima will go as a Brahmana beggars. Yudhishthira, tears in his eyes. He said, how many times you want to beg? Right? On behalf of the Devatas, he became Vaman, begging from Bali Maharaj. Now Krishna said, I will beg. Imagine, yes, from the Bhagavata's perspective, it is the glorification of Krishna. But from Krishna's perspective itself in the Mahabharata, it is just to prove Yudhishthira Maharaj's responsibility towards his father, performing that Rajasuya sacrifice and making him a dharmic king. So even in the Pitri Puja, there are three strokes, three realities. One is pleasing the father so that he can move forward, politically establishing Yudhishthira as the unconquerable king, and thirdly, accepting the Agra Puja from everybody. Right? For Krishna, the Agra Puja is not so important. For Krishna, establishing Yudhishthira as the king and pushing forward Pandu Maharaj to further his journey. And he goes to Jarasandha, and what does he say? Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. And what Bhiksha did he ask? Yuddha Bhiksha. And therefore, this Pitri Puja in Sanatan Dharma goes beyond because of fear, because of worshipping the dead. We don't call worshipping of the dead. We call as Pitris, where there is a concept of freedom. Pitri, Putra, Putri, they all denote freedom. They denote Amritatva. And therefore, in this Pitri Puja, in this Mahalaya Amvasya and before, it's the best opportunity for people to enhance their gratitude to their Pitris, so that will be supported and assisted by Krishna, just like he did for the Pandavas. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for taking us through the legacy of Pitru Puja from time immemorial. Request you to please ask your questions by raising your hand, and we will unmute you. Yes, so we have Darshan Prabhu. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have heard that the journey to Pitrulok is very difficult, and so the ancestors who are traveling towards Pitrulok, they find difficulty, and then they start to remember the children. And because they can't reach children, they try to do good for them. But because children cannot realize that they are doing good for us, so they start doing bad for them. So that the children can remember them and do something for them through Pitra Tarpan, so that they get relief. Is this true, Prabhuji?
See, there are elaborate explanation given in different Puranas, but if we focus on the principal understanding, right, there is this explanation is there, to get the attention of their children. It is not to harm them. It is not to cause trouble to them. It is not that they do it, that is the energy functions. It is just like there is a fire. If you don't know how to use the fire for the right reason, the fire will cause harm to you. If you don't know how to control, the controlled fire gives you limitless ingredient. You just take rice and make so many beautiful eatables. You take some grain and you make so many items. But if you don't know how to manage the fire, that very fire has the power to destroy the entire crops. So who is doing it? Is the fire is consciously angry with you? It's a laws of nature. So therefore, these Pitris, it's not that they are doing consciously, it's a law of life, it's a law of nature. Prakriti basically creates the positive and negative vibrations. So they are not upset. So Devatas or the Grama Devi also the same thing. They are looking for your reciprocation, and by some means, like a child, when the mother is not able to acknowledge the child's presence, the child may pull the pallu of the mother, or nowadays pull the t-shirt of the mother to get some, or throw things, right? But the purpose is not destruction. The purpose is asking, acknowledge me, acknowledge me, acknowledge me. But again, we don't give much, we don't emphasize that so much. Our emphasis on, whenever you get to know that I need to be grateful, start doing that, they immediately reciprocate.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
The concept of fear has to be minimized. The concept of kritadnyata has to be maximized.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Can I ask Harivamsa, Prabhu, to please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Tulsi Latadik Dati. Yeah. So my question is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, Prabhuji, is there any astrological connection that, in astrology, they see some Lagna Kundli and say that, you have Pitra dosh. And yes. When they say it is Pitra dosh, this is on the 9th house, there should be Rahu, then that is very destructive, and it shows that in previous life you had that Pitra dosha and all. So, how you will connect, because Vaishnavas are above all astrology, means Vaishnava have their, what I say, like Vaishnava consider that astrology is just minimizing the karma up and down, but cycle of birth and death is not being discussed in astrology. But Vaishnavas, they see that, astrology is no good for them, because anyhow it is not taking us out of cycle of birth and death. So this astrological thing has what significance for Vaishnavas? I want to know from you, so that we say that there's no Pitra dosha now. I don't know how to.
Yeah, I got it. I touched upon that point. If you read the Bhagavatam, I explained that Prahlad Maharaj was the greatest of the devotee. If he is not a Vaishnava, who else can be Vaishnava? And Lord Narsinghdev told him to perform, Pitri Puja. I gave the example of Pandu Maharaj was a great devotee. Yudhishthira Maharaj is the greatest of the devotee. Narad Muni, one who gave the Bhagavatam, he is speaking to our Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Krishna is assisting the Pandavas to perform, to help Yudhishthira Maharaj, to help Pandu Maharaj to move forward. Lord Chaitanya performed Pindadan in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Lord Ramachandra in Ramayana, not only to Dasharath Maharaj, Lord Ramachandra performed to the bird Jatayu also, who had no concept of this. In the Arjuna first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we saw that Krishna in the 10th canto, and therefore I don't know which Vaishnava is so great that he transcends the Pandavas, transcends the Prahlad Maharaj, he transcends even Krishna. Therefore, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that the self-realized person has no duties to perform. But he says to set an example.
Example, yes.
Yeah. And second, most important part is, more than example, one who claims that is a Vaishnava, he loses of being a Vaishnava, because the quality of a Vaishnava, in the Kaviraj Goswami explains, that one who actually loves Krishna, he knows that he has no love for Krishna. Because when you come closer, you realize I'm so ordinary, I'm more and more ordinary. So Vaishnava is not a brand, Vaishnava is not a position, Vaishnava is a disposition. And best of the Vaishnava is the most humble person. He goes through all the processes, what is recommended in the scripture, so even in the, again, Jyotish Shastra, can you mute? In the Jyotish Shastra, it is called as the eyes of the Vedas. It is one of the Anga. When Vyasadeva was speaking to the Pandavas, when Vyasadeva was speaking to Dhritarashtra, in the Bhagavatam first canto, Parikshit Maharaj, right? He was, when he was born, Yudhishthira called many Jyotish. See, we don't depend upon it. It's not about depending upon Jyotish Shastra, but using that Upakarana given by Vyasa's father, Parashara Muni. We are not supposed to be obsessed by it. It does not decide our destiny, but it helps us to walk it's a GPS. You have to still drive. You still have to have a car. You still have to be attentive in driving. GPS does not take you to the destination. GPS simply allows you to drive. Still, you have to perform your duty. So therefore, yes, the concept of Pitri dosha is there. Again, as the first question was asked, whether our Pitris become upset. No, it's a laws of life. If you don't know how to use the fire, it backfires. But if you use the fire, you can cook hundreds of nice dishes. No, that is the understanding in all the Shastras.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, this particular subject seems to have generated a lot of interest. We have many people who would like to ask you questions. I request everybody to please make your questions brief. Yeah, thank you. Pushkar Prabhu, can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, you are audible. I can hear.
Prabhuji, I have a question that. I have a question that, can a married woman, like whose mom and dad is like alive, but her mother and father-in-law is dead, so can she go with her husband to give pinddan to them and their ancestors?
She doesn't have brothers?
Yeah, she have brothers.
So they can do it, and she can be taking part, and she can be taking part in that. If they are not willing to do, nobody is doing. And as I explained, that, she can get through, she can do it, she can manage it, she can also do it. There are some, like from the Vedic perspective, some of the Brahmanas may not want to see women doing it, but there are some Brahmanas who follow the Puranic concept also, they may do it. So, but the point is, again, if nobody is willing to do, she can sit and offer acknowledgement, offer that food, offer to the Brahmanas, offer to the Vaishnavas. So it is a ritual. If you are not able to do, at least the basic of offering of the food can be done. But yes, it has to be done. Ladies can also do, not an issue.
Thank you very much. Sayak Prabhu, can you please unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Like her mother and father, own mother and father is alive, but her her to give that meaning.
No, I didn't get it. What is the last part?
Prabhuji, I've asked him to unmute himself. 1 minute. This is Pushpa Prabhu again.
Yeah. You can send the message. We'll take next question. We are not able to hear you.
Yes, Sayak Prabhu, 1 minute. Just can you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji, my question is, in case of the Pindadan, like there is sometimes some tales goes like that if you don't offer the Pindadan, then the parents gets they suffer and they gets angry, and that would create a negative impact on the people who are alive. So is this true? Like this thing is true?
See, again, as I said, the process, in the beginning, I told how the fear was a driving principle to worship the dead. And therefore, it is called the worship of the dead. And therefore, in the European world, the spirit is considered as ghost and Atma also, the soul also. But again, you have to go back to the foundational principle of Sanatana Dharma, rather than focusing on those verses which talk about causing pain and fear to you, you have to take the role of, encouragement. Take it like this. In the Sanatana Dharma, we do not discuss so much about hell. Does it mean that hell does not exist? Hell exists, but the process of transcending the hell is more, accessible compared to not, avoiding the hell. So similarly, when people are consciously, unconsciously, for example, if somebody is not doing that puja, it is said, yes, there is a problem of bearing the child, the children are not happening. So that is not to cause pain to you, but to remind, please, they are looking, you just do this, and then again the legacy will continue. So the pain or punishment is extremely circumstantial, but the reward is constitutional. Therefore, even the Yoga Sutras, Stiram Sukham Asanam, there has to be a better position, which gives rise to stability, which turns into happiness. So therefore, rather than focusing, there are verses where it is said that if you drop a Charanamrit of Lord Vishnu, you become leper for 7 births. Why do they say that? Because many times you may drop also, but the Devatas, the Lord Vishnu is not sitting there to punish you to be in the hell for 7 lifetimes. Just become a little serious. Be conscious of that. So therefore, those verses which are talking about punishing, they're of less importance. But those verses which are talking about encouraging you, rewarding you, continuing the legacy, they're of the higher importance. Sometimes we need stick, but the purpose is not to beat you all the time. So, sometimes people read Garud Puran. The purpose of Garud Puran is not for those who are living back. The purpose of Garud Puran is for those who are departed. So that the Atma, which is stuck in that zone only, hearing the Garud Purana, starts moving faster. Otherwise, if you read Garud Puran for the living people all the time, they'll be having nightmares. So we should know when to read, what to read, how to read, what is the idea of it. The idea of Sanatana Dharma is very important. What is it? It is encouraging. 16th chapter, Krishna encourages Arjuna. Arjuna, you're not born out of the demonic nature. And even if you're born out of the demonic nature, you still get a chance. Duryodhan got chance till on the 15th day to change his mind. Ravana got his chance till the last day of the battle. Ram sent him back, go. Right? So please understand that theological foundation, rather than focusing on the verses which scare us.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very encouraging. Prabhuji, we have exceeded time, so if you want to stop at any point in time, please let me.
We can take a few questions. Not an
Sure.
issue.
So, Shanti Purnath Prabhu, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is that nowadays there is a lot of craze for body donation and organ donation. So how do we understand then from a Shastric perspective, and what happens if someone has donated the body after death, and how do we understand about their Shraddha ceremony and all that?
See, Shraddha is not made for the bodily limbs. Shraddha is made for that personality. Okay, are there body giving donations? See, our Shastras are filled with all kinds of limitless variations. Our Dadinchi Muni, right? He gave his body to the Devatas to make that weapon, Vajrayudha, right? So basically, if you can be detached from your body, and if it is benefiting, again, consciousness matters. And some people may say, I don't want to give, let this body be burned completely. That is also all right. But if somebody has the right understanding, oh, I want to give this for the better cause. So then, there is no such bondage. So what is important? The importance of, right understanding. If you are doing everything out of sentiments, like I remember one young boy had committed suicide many years ago, an Indian American, and he wrote that all my body limbs has to be given to the charity. And in that school, in 2-3 years, about 20 kids committed suicide because the charitable organization, they created such a brainwashing amongst the children, making them feel that your life is useless, donate to somebody else. No? So everything has its flip side and its positive side also. So we have to be conscious about what we are doing, why are we doing, and where we are doing. Again, 17th chapter, Krishna explains whatever charity you give, you should know the place, you should know the timing, and you should know, the purpose of it. Then it is a charity in Sattva Guna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Can I ask Alok Prabhu to please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, if family has many siblings, is it the eldest sibling who has to do the Pitru Puja? And the second question is that can we, on a day-to-day basis, also while doing Aarti and all, we can offer to our Pitras the jal or whatever offerings we offer to the God also? And the third is what is the exact process of doing the Pitru Puja? Can we ourselves do it, or it has to be done through some Pandit also with all the rituals and all?
So the first is the Pitru Puja. You asked too many questions. I forgot the first, but anyway, whatever I remember. Yes, Pitru Puja process is very simple. I gave that. You can do yourself, or you can also invite a Brahmana. It is better to invite a Brahmana because so that the legacy of Brahmanas continues. And secondly, yes, every day you can invoke your ancestors, offer them gratitude. That is a Nitya Shraddha. What was the first question?
Prabhuji, the first question was the eldest sibling has to offer.
Yes. So this thing is eldest son would offer, because in the joint family they would all take part. Imagine one son is in Kolkata, other son is in Singapore, third is somewhere else, and the daughter is somewhere else. So they also need to be connected. So in that time, each other, they can say, I will do my puja, you also do. So in that way, every son gets the benefit of being connected to the ancestor. If you say, bada beta kar rahe hain, to main kyun karo? Then what will happen to you? Because your children have not seen So they will say, why should I do? Because my father never did like that. So the recommendation is elder son, because the joint family. Now because people are staying anywhere, everywhere. So therefore, anyone who is connected, if they are not there with them, they should do, so that the legacy continues.
But we can individually also do. Right?
Yes, of course.
Individually, all can also do it. There's no harm in individually. Everybody is doing it.
Absolutely not.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. By the way, I have been doing it regularly also, the Pitra Tarpan while doing the puja.
Very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Arti Mataji, can you please unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, my questions have been answered, many of them. I wanted to know the Brahman, the invitation, it's a repeat question, invitation of a Brahman. When we do some bhojan seva in a temple, is that equivalent, or I understood in your previous answer that when you invite a Brahmana, that is for the legacy part, so that your children understand. Otherwise, is it so mandatory to invite? My question is also because where do we find those Brahmanas? If
they don't come, you find them. There are 100%. There are everywhere. We not in large number, but there are. Basically, more than they being qualified, we have to find qualified. But even if they are not qualified, if you have that shraddha, I am doing my part, giving to that Brahmana, and if you put some effort, you'll find. And generally, recently I was there because of my sister's passing away. I saw such a nice Brahmanas. They don't even eat. Even if you cook, even though you are a vegetarian, they said, for our Shuddhata, for our puja, it is better that we are a Swayampaki. Now, Swayampak in Marathi word, Swayampak is used in Marathi more. Swayampak means, one's own hand. They cook with their own hand. Right, that Gopal Brahman who came to Lord Chaitanya's father's house, he was basically cooking his own food. So therefore, providing that grain also, or you find some Gurukul which are run by the Veda Patashalas, you send them some money, and then you also sponsor prasadam to devotee community also. We don't have to cancel because I'm doing this, I don't want to do this. Because I'm doing this, I don't want to do. We can integrate just with little more, integration will help everybody.
And Prabhuji, you mentioned about the Tarpan process, which is a 45-minute process. Can we get some information on that?
I didn't say 45 minutes. It can be done within 5-7 minutes also. Simple process. If you Google in the YouTube, there are nice explanation given. Where simple water and then black sesame seeds, flour and grass. Then offering very simple process. Anything you can, which is Vishnu centric, you can see that and follow that.
Okay. And Prabhuji, you mentioned about offering gratitude to your ancestors on a daily basis. So that is Tarpan, right? Is that Tarpan also?
You can do Tarpan also. You can be conscious also, bas. Just when you are done with your puja, you offer your ancestor that thank you for giving this opportunity, so that I was born in this family, so that I could take up to the path of spirituality.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Mithili Mataji, can you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Yes.
Hope you're doing well, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, there is this question which someone had asked or just commented when my father, even at his 70 years, my father and my mother used to do Shraddham and all Mahalaya Amavasya. And in fact, in our community, you're supposed to do the first 14 days every day Shraddham, like Prabhuji is also doing for his father. Yeah. So the question people ask is that your grandfather or your father has been long gone for so many years and he must have already taken a rebirth. So why do you need to do all these rituals now? So what would be a convincing reply to this question?
Again, that where they are, it doesn't matter. Again, in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, when Prahlad Maharaj is asking Lord Narsinghdev, you read the purport also there, Prabhupada's purport, that in whatever species they are in, wherever they are in, because the energy, the Shakti, the Brahman, the Shakti, the energy or Urja, better we call it as Urja, the Urja of your connection reaches their soul also. If they are in the spiritual realm, they can bless you. If they are stuck in the Pitru Loka, they proceed forward. They've gone down to the animal Loka, then from there also they benefit because of that connection. That is the beauty of connection. And if they have nothing of this, I said, okay, I don't know all these complexities. The simple is, at least I maintain my gratitude because I am there because of my parents. My parents are there because of their parents. They chose to have children, even in the difficulties and in the challenging situation. You could have been the fourth children, your father could have been the fifth child, your grandfather could have been the sixth child. They thought, okay, let me continue the legacy. Imagine if they had said, oh no, it's very costly. So they had stopped. Then we don't know which community, what family, where one is born. So even from that perspective, for my own satisfaction, doesn't matter what happens to them, where they are. From that perspective also, this is good. And if you see from the Shastra's perspective, on the 3 level, if they have reached Vaikuntha, the Urja benefits you because now they don't need anybody's blessing. But if they are in Pitruloka, like Pandu Maharaj was there, they proceed from there. And if they are in the lowest of the animal birth, from there also they are able to be, that Pindadan is basically Amrita for them. This for Anna is called as Prana. And especially that Anna which is offered to Vishnu with all kinds of gratitude has the power of being a vehicle for their progression.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Yadav Prabhu, can you please ask your question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, for Pitru Shanti, Pitrudo Shanti, it is sometimes recommended very elaborate rituals to go to Gaya and do that. Despite doing these regular things, so how far is that? Because that becomes a very costly affair. And as you also said that this is not to distress people, but going to Gaya and doing all those things, it takes a lot of time as well as money. And then they also said that you have to do Bhagavatam Saptah also. I mean, it's a very elaborate thing. So how to?
No, that's what I said. What do you think around 300 years ago people did living in the remote part of Tamil Nadu? Did they go to Gaya? Somebody lived in the remote part of Meghalaya. Did they go to Gaya? See, there is a theocracy. Theocracy means everybody has to go to Vatican. Everybody has to go to Mecca. But if you see Sanatan Dharma, when you get up in the morning, people chant this mantra also. Karagre Vasita Lakshmi, Karamadde Saraswati, Kare Mule tu Govinda Prabhate Karadarshanam. See, from there it begins. If you have nothing, you be where you are, and from there only you can all the holy places and perform, you get the same benefit. You have the resources, and rather than going here and there, you go to Gaya also. So there is no hard and fast rules that unless you go there, it is not complete. There is no such rule that you have. The word you have to doesn't exist for the practitioners of Sanatana Dharma. There is a suggestion. If you can't do anything, read in the Bhagavatam that 2 devotees, one was king and one was Shrutadeva, who was very poor. He just danced in front of the Lord. There was nothing else. And other was offering limitless resources because he was the king. But whether he was a king or ordinary person, the tools may be different, but the disposition, the Shraddha is the same. So the distressing people with the elaborate rituals makes them not to do next time. That should never happen.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Shraddhaji, can you please ask your question?
Yes, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. I wanted to know I lost my father in COVID in 2021. So I've been doing Shraddh for him, the ceremony. But I want to know, you said it reaches out to them, but in the heart of the hearts, I want to also understand that he knows while he was around, he knew what kind of challenges and difficulties we as family were facing. So while I do that as gratitude to him, would you also understand what kind of situation I'm into, and can he help me out, because he was the only source from where I derived all inspiration to move on in life. So I want to know, will he know that what I'm going through or what I want?
See, they again, a living entity has a limited resources to know, but at the same time, I said urja, that energy helps you to reciprocate so that he can also independently pray. See, one of the most important part when somebody who is an inspiration where we are dependent on them, when they pass away, their greatest satisfaction is that those who are staying behind, they should become self-sufficient. No relationship causes such a turmoil. Gratitude is not an addiction. Gratitude is basically born out of strength, not weakness, right? So therefore, when the person passes away, the first 13 days are called as a mourning period. We mourn, there is a shoka kala. But every year when we perform, that is not a shoka kala. That is a time for kritanyata. If somebody is holding shoka, dependence, incapacitated, that hurts them very badly. Therefore, when Krishna brought the Pandavas in front of Bhishmadev, dying Bhishmadev, when Bhishmadev saw Pandavas gorgeously dressed, settled very nicely, beautiful, he had gratitude that Krishna came. He had regret that he had not taken care of Draupadi properly and the Pandavas properly. And he was satisfied now the right dharmic rule has been established. Therefore, Shraddha also means I stand strong in your separation. The pain is there in my heart, but my confidence and my conviction has increased. So that is also the way to offer oblations by you, that Daddy, I stand strong. I will grow nicely by your inspiration. And when people lose themselves in relationship, that is not good for them because they can't move forward then. They're worried, but they can't do anything much because they are not God, right? They need a vehicle, and you have the better resources. As I said, if he's in the higher realm, he can help you. But what is in your control, which you can control, is your life. You remain strong, you be confident, then their journey is much faster, and from there they can supply more energy for you. We'll take one last question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Mohar Prabhu, can you please ask a question? Can I request Rupam Prabhu to please ask your question?
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम। प्रभु जी, मेरा प्रश्न है प्रभु जी, मम्मी पापा के जीवित रहते हुए सास ससुर के लिए पिंड दान, गया जी में जाके पिंड दान करने की अनुमति शास्त्र देता है या नहीं देता है?
उनके आपके घर में उनके सास ससुर के बच्चे वगैरह नहीं है?
जी, मैं उनकी बहू हूँ, मेरे सास ससुर और उनके सास ससुर, उनके ऊपर ऊपर के सब लोग जा चुके हैं, तो मेरी मम्मी पापा जीवित हैं प्रभु जी। तो
आपके पति कर सकता है ना?
हाँ, तो उसमें बोला जाता है कि गृहस्थ के लिए वो पत्नी का साथ में बैठना जरूरी होता है।
नहीं, श्राद्ध में पत्नी बैठती नहीं है।
पिंड दान करने के लिए गया जी जाना चाहती हूँ प्रभु जी।
उनके तो उनका, क्योंकि उनका माता पिता है, उनको तो निश्चित रूप से करना चाहिए, उसको तो 100% करना चाहिए, उसमें कोई सवाल ही नहीं है, क्योंकि उनके माता पिता के लिए करना ही है। तो आप फिर से और भी किसी श्रेष्ठ ब्राह्मण से पूछ सकते हो। जनरली उस समय अगर पति कर रहे तो पत्नी को बाकी सारे क्रिया में, गृह प्रवेश में, बाकी सब यज्ञों में पत्नी के बिना वो यज्ञ पूरा होता ही नहीं, लेकिन हाँ इसमें वो कर सकते हैं अपने परिवार की ओर से।
मैं पूछी थी यहाँ के ब्राह्मणों से, तो कुछ का कहना है कि हाँ आप जा सकते हो, मम्मी पापा के साथ नहीं जाना है, पति के साथ आप जा सकते हो। और कुछ लोग
अनुमति लेकर, कभी कभी जैसे मैं जानता हूँ, एक बार हम लोग बद्रीनाथ में थे, तो किसी को अपने दादा दादी के लिए, नाना नानी के लिए करना था, तो उन्होंने अपने माता पिता का अनुमति लिया कि मैं आपकी ओर से बैठता हूँ। तो कई ब्राह्मणों ने बोला ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हो, कई ने कहा ठीक है, आप अपने माता पिता की ओर से कर रहे हो, आप नहीं कर रहे हो, आप केवल एक अल्टरनेटिव के रूप में बैठे। भाई देर आर अगेन, आपका अगर सही जानकारी है, टेक्निकली कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसमें ना, आपको उनसे अनुमति लेकर उनके लिए कर सकते हो, ऐसा काफी शास्त्र का सम्मति है। So we'll stop here. Thank you for your kind attention, and we will see next week for learning the concept of Shakti Tattva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.